Okay, Andy, looking at you, obviously your £20 worth of Chinese wasn't the way you carried it forward, because you're in good shape there. And people watching this are going to be, they can't help but be, it's powerful stuff what you've just said, sort of moved by your story. But on the other side of it, there are thousands of people that bet on a regular basis, and most of them, they'll lose, because that most people do lose betting, but they don't end up in the sort of predicament that you were in. What do you think made you different from them?
I just it made me feel numb to the outside world. I think I had quite a high pressure job, what I was doing, and it is my way of relaxing, so to speak. I had no children at the time. I just had my wife, and it enabled me to kill a lot of time. I think I had I was like probably bored, and probably, like I say, just having a lot of time on my hands and being able to do it at ease. And I was always chasing that next big win, and I just wanted to win more, so to speak.
Okay, now you said that you started off actually doing quite well. You won several tournaments on the online poker, and that was a game of skill. Why, when you're obviously doing something that you had a chance with, why did you suddenly decide to start sticking £1,000 in a FOBT, and not continue with that sort of? Any idea why you made that jump from having a chance to having no chance?
Yeah, I just it was just a way to probably win quick money. I wanted everything straight away. Wanted that buzz. Wanted that feel of gambling, and I had the opportunity to do so. I had that grand in my hand, and I still remember it vividly. I was probably betting £13, £12 on zero, and the maximum you could whack on it, £100 spins. And it was just the feeling of getting it, and the rush of actually doing £100 bet each time, and it felt amazing in one way but bad in the other. You talk about gambling, you either high as a kite or low down here, so to speak, and I kind of felt that experience in both times and stuff and all that. And it was just the ease for me and the buzz for me to do it. I could switch off, and I had the time to do it.
So when do you think a punter in his heart of hearts knows when he's made that step from being just a bad punter to being a punter that's got problems?
I think the only time when you realise you're really in the despair of help and stuff and all that is when you are at that rock bottom situation. I think when you realise it's taken over more of your time. For me, I don't talk about the money side of things quite a lot about it. I talk about time, and if it's stopping you from picking the kids up from school, it's starting to take over your work life. Especially if you've got on an 8-hour shift and you're constantly checking your phone for bets and stuff and all that. As soon as it hits break, you can't wait to have a look at your bet and see if it's done well or it's not done so. It's starting to that compulsion starts taking over your life. You're doing your day-to-day things, your daily things. That's when it starts to become a problem for me personally.
Now, you mentioned that you kept getting loans to pay off debts on credit cards.
Yeah.
Now, would that be being able to use a credit card to actually have bets? Would that be something that contributed to your initial sort of problems, do you think?
Yeah, obviously, because it's not your money, and it's not your money, but you pretend it is, so to speak. And obviously, when you're doing it online, you're doing all those gambling transactions, and it don't feel like physical cash anyway. And I just wanted to see the numbers in the bottom right hand screen where I had my credit and how much my account was on there, and it made it I can just I can access my funds dead easy. And when it got to a stage where I could just save my credit card details on there as well, made it even easier as well. And yeah, that's probably when initially I'm maxing out 4 credit cards. I maxed out 1. You think, right, then 2, then 3, then 4. Then It should be that should be at the stage where I'm thinking, right, I've got a bit of a problem here. I need to dig myself out of the hole. And I thought by trying to win more money would be better to do so instead of like coming clean trying to stop.
I'm talking about traditional bookmakers first of all, taking bets on horses and greyhounds, etc.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think that your bookmaker could or should have done to notice that you were becoming a problem to yourself?
I think for me, it's the time element again. If you're spending like every day in that bookmakers in the afternoon, say doing 6-7 hours from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m, and you're there constantly betting on every single thing, even like it was cartoon racing was just coming in when I was like at the pits to bit, and I remember gambling on cartoons and stuff and all that lot. I think focusing on how much time they're spending in there, bookmakers all day, and realising, do you really need to go home? Do you really need to be here all this time and stuff and all that lot? I would focus on how much time they're spending away, probably from family, from friends, because you get to know your punters in the bookmakers as well, especially if you're going in daily, and you could probably see how they are affected and how they are looking as well, so to speak. It's difficult to spot a problem someone who has got a problem with gambling, because obviously with drugs and alcohol, you can see like the actual side effects of that, whereas gambling, they call it the silent addiction. So it is difficult, but I'd focus more on time than the actual amount they probably are gambling.
Okay, and if you're looking at it as a hard-nosed bookmaker,
yeah,
you've just described that you used to go in there for 4 or 5 hours and bet on the cartoon racing.
Yeah.
If I was a bookie, I'd be sending a taxi round for you and I'd pay for it. I know that people are going to say that's awful, but bookmakers are there to try and make money.
Yeah,
so, should there have been a point where the bookie said, I'm not taking any more bets from you, Andy, because you know damn well that the bet you were trying to place would have won. It's odds law would say it probably would. I mean, should the bookmaker be that concerned about individual punters that they should actually exclude you because you're a bad punter?
It's difficult for me. I mean, it would be nice it being a bit of a two-way thing, but it is down to me as an individual to know when to stop, and I take full responsibility of what I've done and full responsibility of my actions. I had to learn to do that. It was me. No one made me place a bet. No machine, no bookmaker, no fruit machine, no online site made me place a bet. End of the day, it was me who made that bet, and it's me who's paying the price for it and paid the price for it.
Okay, you're probably in the minority of people that have suffered as you have with that opinion. Most people, scream the place down saying it is all the bookmakers' fault. So what would you, looking at it from a broad thing, what would you like bookmakers to do? I know it's difficult when it's different between online and a guy that owns a betting shop or a firm that owns a betting shop. What would you like to see in the ideal world? Should there be alarm signals that they should be looking out for, and what would you like to see happen?
Initially, obviously, there is talk of probably a levy on the industry and stuff and all like that, and I think any like kind of funds that have probably contributed to that go to like treatments and stuff, like for like more national gambling clinics and stuff like that, because there's only 2 in the country. Obviously, they do have their systems in place online. It's hard. It's really hard. What I would say is probably much better signposting where to get help as well. It's probably more difficult on a high street than it is online to probably pinpoint someone who's probably got a problem with gambling. For me as well, probably funded into better education of gambling as well, because I'm quite passionate about that, and we talk about, especially in schools and colleges and universities, we talk about the dangers of STIs, alcohol, smoking, drugs in schools and colleges. Nothing about gambling and what potential harms that can cause from maybe gambling too much or having too much time to do so. That would probably a great benefit. because once you're away at 18, you can gamble on what you want, or 16 even on the national lottery. So yeah, I'd go along the education side of things mainly. Industry, you need to talk to. I know that I'm probably in the minority. I'm quite wide open with stuff. Pick my brains. I want you to see more of me, to be less of me, so to speak. If you can relate to that, I don't want to see people suffering harm. Don't want to see people struggling, and I'm pretty sure the gambling industry as a whole don't want that as well. And if we can have like more dialogue, more open forums, more visits, talking to each other, and hopefully, I mean, even, I know it sounds quite outside the box, having people within like the responsible gambling, obviously, because there's a lot of responsible gambling strategies happening now. Obviously, after like the FOBT decision and stuff and all that lot, the gambling companies want to look more responsible. Talk to us more. Talk to the people who have suffered the harm, who have suffered the lived-in experience. Meet these people, and then maybe we can have dialogue and talk to each other and have a way forward, have a plan of action. Maybe have the industry actually come together and having like an overreaching kind of like guideline or something set in stone where they can look and share the information possibly on what someone could be a potential problem gambler.
So outside the industry, if you're an alcoholic or you're a smoker or you're a drug addict, you can go to your GP, you can go to rehab, you can get patches, you know. Is there, so if somebody watching this is in a desperate state that you found yourself in when you were rock bottom, is there a medical, can the NHS or somebody help you, or have you got to go to self-help groups like you did?
Yeah, I mean, you can go to NHS and they can like do CBT, therapy, cognitive behavioural therapy, send you on like 6 1-hour appointments. There was also like, there's 2 national problem gambling clinics as well. There's one down south somewhere, I can't quite remember, I think it's London based. And there is one more as well, which is opening up in Leeds next year. There's not a lot on there. What I'd strongly believe in is, I think if it started to be made a public health issue, I think we can get a massive step forward along the line to help with treatments for addicts. Obviously, I went to self-help groups, I go to Gamblers Anonymous. It saved my life for me. But there is Gam Care as well. And also other bits as well, like Break Even and Bet No More, so to speak, who do like little treatment services. And there's also Gordon Moody, which is like a rehabilitation and like where you go away on residential for 14 weeks and kind of detox as well, so to speak. But there could be so much more. And hopefully, if it was made a public health issue, there will be more there.
Do you think financial institutions like banks, etc., should also be a bit more responsible? I mean, they must have seen, your credit card companies must have seen deposits going into gambling over and over and over again. Yeah. Was there never any flag up from there?
I mean, no, not all. We are going back a bit, 2005, 2006, and we're talking like where money was easy to lend, so to speak. But I do know now that there is talk of people like maybe able to block gambling transactions, because I know full well the technology's there, and there's like a couple of startup banks, Monzo and Starling, who actually can make you block gambling transactions. I know Barclays have recently come out with one as well where you can toggle it off, but what I would say is you need a cooling off period, especially if you've got them urges to do so. And I know Monzo, if someone wants to switch back on their gambling transactions, they'll actually talk to you on the phone. Are you sure you really want to do this? Because they offer cooling off period and stuff and all that lot. So yeah, I do think they probably could be a bit more responsible, but it's a two-way thing. Yet again, obviously, it's down to the gambler, down to the person, down to the individual.